podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Have you recovered from your outing yesterday?
Sure, yeah. 8-1 on aggregate over the last two games. There's got to be something to rant about, though, surely. Otherwise, we're just going to have to give up. It's going to be moaning slightly cast.
I think Rooney was pretty terrible for Everton, but that's not our problem. Let's start at the start then. CSKA Moscow 1, Manchester United 4. A scoreline which somehow flatters CSKA Moscow fairly considerably, I would say.
Oh, I mean, United were good enough to get double figures, I think, in that game. They were terrible, Moscow, terrible. I mean, I suppose I should say United were good, but I don't think they actually had to be that good against this Moscow side. I mean, the centre-backs were 36 and 38 or something like that, so I suppose no surprise that our zippy forwards might cause them some problems, but they were just all over the place. The only negative point about that game, well, two really. One, you didn't score more, because really should have, and a pretty sloppy goal to concede near the end of the game.
Yeah, and we'll take that as the only negatives from what I think most of us predicted would be a fairly tough trip, or at least if not a tough trip, then one which United approached defensively. And in spite of a lineup where he played three at the back, that was three at the back used for its attacking purposes, wasn't it? A very fluent and effective performance from United's front three.
It's very, very rare that United have played three at the back under Mourinho and playing an attacking style. So maybe that's the first time. I mean, I may be forgetting another game, but typically it's three at the back with two covering and two wide players covering the wing backs as well. So, he's typically used it to playing very, very defensive, as he did a number of times last season, but not on this occasion. I actually thought that I didn't think United would struggle because Moscow had lost so many games already this season, but I did think that Mourinho might approach it in a kind of fairly conservative manner, but I was completely wrong. United went for it right from the start.
Who scored half the formation for United as a 3-4-2-1 with Martial and Mkhitaryan tucked in behind Lukaku, and that's based on their sort of average positions. I think you could call it a 3-4-3 pretty safely. And that front three between them, Mkhitaryan with a goal, Lukaku with 2 goals, Martial with a goal from a penalty and 2 assists. Not too shabby at all.
Martial was awesome, I thought. He was a standout player. Obviously got his goal from the penalty, but I thought he was absolutely devastating every time he got the ball. But par for the course, he'd get dropped, of course, for the game of the weekend. Maybe he's in a good place at the moment mentally because he doesn't seem to be complaining. We're not hearing stories of him wanting out in January or anything like that, despite the fact that he doesn't start too many games. But I thought it was a little harsh on the lad to drop him after such an awesome performance. But Mkhitaryan was good as well against Moscow. Lukaku with his sort of standard couple of goals now. United completely dominant in central midfield. Both Matic and Herrera, both had total number of passes in the 90s and pass completion rates in the high 90s too. Completely dominant, and even the wing backs were decent. So and the back three didn't have to do a lot, to be honest.
No, Moscow's back three in incredibly generous mood, both in terms of their positioning and their just complete inability to do anything about Lukaku. He won't score 2 easier goals, or certainly not than the second one. And, United were 3-0 up within the first half an hour, and they could coast. Martial was just magic in that game. And he kind of was again when he came on late against Palace. It was interesting what happened inside Old Trafford when Martial came on. There was a definite change in tone around the ground. I'd say that there's a strong argument that he might be the most popular player in the United squad with the fan base at the moment. But anyway, yeah, Moscow, terrible defending by them, thoroughly. And the thought that I had during that game was the one thing you really don't want to be against us at the moment is a bad team, because bad teams in the last couple of years, you've been basically fine being a bad team against us. Just, be reasonably well organised and we'll fail to do anything, or fail to take our chances, or fail to create chances or something. But nowadays, it's just like, okay, if you're bad against us, we'll probably score 4 goals against you.
Yeah, well, it seems to be the standard number of goals we score at the moment. Very popular this season. There's lots and lots of firepower in this team. And, maybe even more important than the amount of firepower is, because, there was lots of firepower last season as well, is that Jose's just feeling a little bit more relaxed with Matic in the team there. He feels that it gives United a defensive base from which to build, and to use his own words, he's let the horses run freely a little more often. A couple of games, Southampton being the exception in particular, but most of the time United have been less conservative than last season. It's good. It's not Fergie in the mid-90s, 6 players storming forward at every attack, but it's better football than we've seen for a long time at Old Trafford.
Yeah, it's 5 players storming forward every attack, and that will do for now. We'll get the 6th involved eventually. Herrera and Matic in the centre of midfield against Moscow, and United definitely looked more fluid for that, I thought. 61.6% possession in that game, which, considering we were 4-0 up, with 3-0 up within half an hour, that number is really remarkable, because typically what happens when a team goes so far ahead of the game is the other team have the ball a lot more for the rest of the game, but this was not one of those.
Yeah, I was going to say, did United relax after half-time? Not really. Completely dominant. There have certainly been games this season when United have gone up and eased off a little bit, although obviously a lot of late goals too. I thought United were dominant through most of this game. I have no data to back this up, or I do have data to back this up if I could be bothered to look at it. But I feel that they created a lot of chances in the first half, and probably fewer in the second. But by then the game was done, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can just afford to do that, can't you? Okay, so I'm sat in front of, I've got who scored up right now, and we haven't got number of chances, but in the first half United had 9 shots to Moscow's 7, and in the second half that number was 7 shots to Moscow's 6. So not a great deal in it in terms of shot numbers, although that really isn't the same as chances created, is it? The lots of long shots and stuff get thrown into that, and I think a lot of Moscow's shooting was from range. Did De Gea make any wonder saves in this game? I think there was.
No, I remember. He did. Akinfeev and De Gea made the same number of saves, but I don't remember De Gea making a single save that he had to make. Obviously I don't think he had done much about the goal. That was pretty sloppy from a central defensive point of view. 3 very static players there. And a nice finish, I suppose, but I don't remember him making any decent ones.
I just think there was one, because I think I remember saying it feels like cheating having De Gea behind this defence, because the whole team just hardly concedes any good chances anyway, and then they've got to get past De Gea as well. It just doesn't seem fair, really. But yeah, so Moscow brushed aside, and the other result in that group, kind of fascinating. I think Basel beat Benfica 5-0. Which obviously no one was expecting that, and that puts United in just such a strong position, having already beaten Basel in that group. I think Moscow beat Benfica too, so I think United are the only team on 6 points in that group, and qualification already looking pretty comfortable. They're going to have to go some to mess it up from here.
I don't think they will. It's a pretty easy group, isn't it?
Yeah.
As some conspiracy theories on the blue sort of wedge of Manchester or Stockport, believe that we are in hoots with UEFA to get easy draws. We were talking about this at the weekend.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's not the case, but I would say that, right?
Yeah, it's the Illuminati in work again. We saw David Gill at the weekend, didn't we? Looking quite bronze, I thought.
Yeah, we were sat in the south stand, which we didn't get to choose where our seats were, and you have to say, very kindly sorted out by a friend of ours. But the view was absolutely extraordinary. So we're pretty much on the halfway line. 10 rows back from the pitch in the south stand, but distinctly lacking in atmosphere, that bit of the ground. Very funny.
Yeah, no, I had a season ticket there for 5 or 6 seasons. Probably that number of times that I heard anyone sing as well over those 5 or 6 seasons. So, yeah. So that was Moscow. I mean, not a lot to say about that because it was just so easy, and I can't imagine they're going to be any better at Old Trafford. So I think there's another 3 points in the bag. We've got a doubleheader against Benfica coming up, and given what just happened against Basel, I think we can assume they're not particularly good. And then the trip to Basel, it should, why shouldn't United win 6 out of 6 in this group?
There's no good reason whatsoever, especially when, the one thing that we were both saying yesterday when watching the Palace game was that United kind of looked like they lacked a bit of enthusiasm. And when you think they kind of got back to Manchester in the middle of the night on Thursday, like sort of first thing in the morning Thursday, it's not that surprising after a trip like that they were pretty glad to be able to take their feet off the gas as United smashed Crystal Palace 4-0, a game that was like 100% over after 3 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, yes, they were done, weren't they? As soon as that goal went in, that was it. Palace gone. And you looked at the Palace players and they thought, game over. And you looked at the United players and they thought game over too, because there was a distinct lack of intensity during that first half. It's kind of one of those games where Palace is so bad and their morale obviously so low that if United just picked up the pace a little bit, there was probably 6 or 7 goals in it for United. But, I mean, you can see Jose, couldn't you, on the sidelines? He was annoyed by the performance, even though United were 3-0 up at half-time, or whatever, something like that.
2-0.
2-0 at half-time. He was annoyed because it was they were just a little bit sloppy. In particular, Henrik Mkhitaryan, who had not a great game for him. He's obviously created a lot of chances this season, but nothing really going right for him. And just a little bit slow through midfield. I mean, Fellaini ended up having a very good game because, of course, he scored 2 goals. But him and Matic just moving the ball a bit too slow. Mkhitaryan sloppy, and the wide players not Rashford on fire, but just a little bit lacking in oomph. But it wasn't needed against Palace because they're just so bad. I mean, can we already what are the odds on Palace going down? Is there any money to be had out of this at all? Probably not, right?
Well, Ed, funnily enough, I have those odds immediately at hand. You may have heard an edit there in the show. Palace are 1-2 on to go down. Oh dear! After 7 games, that's pretty bad. But they haven't scored a goal in 7 Premier League games.
Some gallows humour from the Palace fans. We'll score when we want.
Yeah. United kind of looked like they kind of thought they could score when they want. You mentioned there's nothing to rant about, and I think, Ed, you were very, very gentle on Henrik Mkhitaryan's performance there because it was an absolute pile of old poop. A completely hot garbage performance from Manchester United's brilliant Armenian. 59% pass completion, meaning he was successful with a total of 16 passes.
Not great for the number 10, creative fulcrum. Yeah, I mean, the only surprise there is it took Jose so long to pull him off, or substitute him. Yeah. Real stinker from Mkhitaryan. In fact, United looked miles better with Jesse Lingard at 10 than Mkhitaryan at 10, and I'm not sure that'll be the case every week by any stretch of the imagination. He's obviously having a fine season so far in terms of output, Mkhitaryan, but we've talked about his kind of inconsistency, and this really was
He looked tired. He looked sloppy. Remember the one where I think Mata was free and Mkhitaryan just tried to slot it through and just slotted it, 12 yards behind him. It was one of the worst attempts at a kind of through ball from the middle to out wide you'll ever see in your life.
Yeah, and there was about 50 yards of space to play the ball into. So yeah, not awesome from Mkhitaryan. Rashford was great though.
That's what I'm saying, Ed. Like, not awesome seems very generous. Like, properly atrocious from Mkhitaryan.
Talking of slightly wayward number 10s, did you see Shinji Kagawa's goal at the weekend?
Absolutely stunning, wasn't it?
Well, check this one out if you hadn't seen it. Just a beautiful chip, the kind of chip that Wayne Rooney tried every week and absolutely never scored. Just sort of throw that in there.
My favourite thing about that chip is he's falling over while he does it, and his leg, the ball is his body's sort of really overextended forward to kind of give himself the right purchase on the leg swing. You were saying, though, Rashford is on absolute fire. And, we were talking about how harsh it was for Martial to be dropped. But you just can't drop Marcus Rashford. Like, that assist for that first goal. I think maybe he got a little lucky with how many people the pass beat. And I wonder whether the pass wasn't actually intended for Lukaku.
Oh, he cut that back beautifully. I'm not having that. I'm not having that. Okay. I mean, he sent Andros Townsend to the corner shop there. I mean, I'm not sure the guy will get over that quickly. So, was it Andros Townsend? No, Andros Townsend got megged by Martial later.
It was fortunately, it was Ward rather than Townsend, because if it was Townsend and then he'd been megged by Martial later, he might just be crumpled in a heap today, Andros Townsend.
I mean, he'd be in your studio for therapy after that. I mean, that was brutal on both occasions.
Yeah, but Rashford's just. He turned back inside to go to make Ward think he was going kind of inside and upfield. And then he was like, see ya, I'm actually going this way, pal, and beat him. And it was just amazing. And the whole stadium was electric when that happened. And then for Mata to score immediately afterwards, it was brilliant. And United were actually kind of at the races for about 5 or 10 minutes. But then the I don't know if it was the travel from Moscow or how easy the game was or whatever, the rot definitely set in until Big Marouane scored, which from where we were sitting, you couldn't tell which bit of him he'd scored with, but it was his foot, not his head. A deep cross from Ashley Young, the Young Fellaini connection, back in effect. I tell you what, there's a couple of stats, right? There's the Ashley Young assists per goal tally, but also the percentage of Ashley Young assists that Marouane Fellaini scored. It must be relatively high.
Yeah, I did get a couple of messages going, see, Ashley Young's good, best crosser in the team. I'm like, I mean, okay, on that evidence, very good cross. It is his one trick, cutting back inside and floating across to the far post. Very fine ball from Ashley Young. Most of the time it isn't. So say the stats and my eyes. Two very important metrics there. But yeah, great ball from Young. Actually, he's been performing very well, Young. You do wonder against a proper right winger whether he might struggle a little bit. But I think Josie likes him because he gets up and down that left hand side a lot better than Daley Blint. It's still Blint's best position playing left back, but I think Ashley Young's a better left back than Daley Blint. Sorry, Daley.
Talking of eyes, seeing it with your eyes, and talking of amazing crosses, we had a lovely view of David Beckham from where we were sitting. That man is just glorious. Like, the hair is definitely working for him. I think it's interesting that he's finally been allowed to grow his hair again after he was forced to cut it off as a penance when he was at Real Madrid.
I thought he had a bit of Robbie Savage about him with that haircut. I'm not sure it works.
It's outrageous. That is an outrageous slur on one of humanity's most precious. There was a nice moment where Fergie went over and gave him a little handshake and hello while he was heading down. There was definitely, you could see people were excited about something and you couldn't see what it was, and then suddenly realised it was David Beckham. It was nice.
So there you go. Second goal, third goal was
Fellaini again. So
Fellaini again. Yes,
the Rashford free kick, which
absolute bullet free kick. I mean, I have to say he is the best dead ball in the team, isn't he? At least in certain situations. I mean, Mata's obviously got a lovely deft touch, but Rashford's really able to fizz them over. That kind of flat delivery that Beckham used to have, and that's always going to cause a lot of trouble.
And in real time, we thought initially maybe that had gone straight in, but Fellaini very distinctly went across and celebrated it as his goal. And then you could see why when you see the replays of it, because actually he does very, very well to, he puts himself right in the right position and manages to kind of deflect a ball which is travelling at tremendous speed right into the right place. So a lovely header from Fellaini. I mean, he didn't have to jump, right? That's the working rank cast Fellaini theory, that he's brilliant at headers he doesn't have to jump for.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good header actually. You look at the replay, and he's done very well for that one. So, United's XG on this game just 2.85, which will tell you something about the how easy some of the goals were in the end. Something about Crystal Palace. Palace's XG 0.1, which I think might be generous on them. They're absolutely terrible. If they score 15 goals this season, it'll be a miracle at this rate anyway.
I think Moscow's was 0.3, and United was up close to 3 again.
Well, if you want a barnstormer on XG, Milan-Roma at half-time was 0.25 and 0.11.
That's not a good game. That is not a good game of football. I just did the quick maths in my head to work out if that was a lot or not. It's not a lot, is it?
It's not a lot.
Talking of XG, we definitely expected goals when Anthony Martial came on. And just Old Trafford lit up at the mere sight of him coming on. I don't know whether this is just confirmation bias on my behalf, but it definitely seemed like people were very excited to see him. And the noise that ground made when he nutmegged Andros Townsend was absolutely incredible. It was the sound of 73,000 people going, "Oh!"
It was, it was a mix of delight and just, instant sorrow for the man who got megged. He didn't. It's not just like he just passed it through his legs. He showed him the ball and then whipped it through. It was like, here you go, have the ball. Oh no, sorry, see ya.
Instead of kind of rushing back to defend, Townsend just goes, "Ah!" And you can see him like waving his arm, like absolutely gutted about what's just happened. That didn't lead directly to a goal. We thought Martial might be just about to score, but Hennessy did relatively well to block the space and stop him from scoring. But he did get an assist. And at Lukaku, there'd been the chance a few moments earlier where he'd cut through and it looked like he was definitely going to finish, and he curled one kind of perfectly, but just the wrong side of the post. But then Lukaku got another very easy goal for him. Terrible, a bunch of defenders who'd utterly given up by that point, and Martial swung it in for Lukaku, who tapped home, and that was it, 4-0.
Yeah, I mean, Lukaku's conversion rate's in the mid-30s. It's as good as anyone in the Premier League. A lot better than Harry Kane's, actually. But Harry Kane takes a lot of shots. And it's not the weekend to have a go at Harry Kane, having scored a very fine hat-trick against Huddersfield. Oh, no, double against Huddersfield. So it's good conversion rates, but he'll be disappointed he missed that first one, for sure. And it's that kind of miss that has some people going, he's a bit flaky. I think actually what it is all strikers are a bit flaky.
Yes.
And he's getting a lot of chances and putting a lot away.
Yeah. 11 in 10 for Lukaku. A truly remarkable run. And we're not going to labour this point, but it was nice to see that the collective seemed to have moved on together. # respect everyone.
Yeah, I think we can all move on from that one. Yes, we had... overheard an amusing conversation next to us, but we'll leave that one there, I think.
Just leave that there. We were let's just say we were in the South Stand and leave it at that. Mata, who is a player who I think when you look at that lineup, you go, okay, there's two options if you want to bring Martial into the side regularly, and one is to drop Mkhitaryan and the other is to drop Mata. And if you drop Mkhitaryan, you bring Mata central and play Rashford and Martial on either flank. Or you just drop Mata and play Martial on the right or Rashford on the right and the other on the left behind Lukaku. And I think right now there is kind of a decent argument for that. But actually, Juan Mata was brilliant against Palace. He got his goal and there was a few really lovely touches with the ball.
Yeah, and it's pretty fluid. Yeah. I mean, based on Mkhitaryan's performance there, you might do that. I mean, honestly, Jose just doesn't want to play Mata in the centre. It's really very rarely happened. I guess it's because he feels it's just a bit more dynamic with a pacier player through the middle. Mkhitaryan or Lingard appears to be the men that will get that role most of the time. Mata gives you something different. The speed is with the ball, not with the player. But he's fine on the right. He gives United balance, and as long as he has the opportunity to come in, I think it's where he's playing for David Moyes and hugging the touchline, getting chalk on his feet. That's not so great. When he can drift inside and other players take up that space, especially Antonio Valencia. Who's always going to do that, then he can get involved in the game in important areas.
Yeah, I thought United's midfield looked. I know this is kind of a bit ridiculous to analyse this game in any depth because of how terrible Palace were, but I did think United's midfield looked a bit livelier once Herrera had come on.
Well, it's always going to be the case. I mean, not having to go at Fellaini because he scored twice and generally put himself about a bit, didn't he? He's not the most mobile, but he made a few good tackles, got the ball back, used the ball sensibly. He's never going to be particularly expressive with the ball, but as long as he does something sensible, that's okay. But Herrera just moves the ball much quicker and much sharper and into more penetrating positions. So, I'd always have him in the side ahead of Fellaini. Mourinho trusts Fellaini, keeps saying it. So, it looks like they're going to extend the guy's contract. He's got a couple of goals now this season, or 3 goals this season, I think. He's there currently as a plan A, not a plan B.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be fascinating to see after the international break what happens with that midfield against Liverpool, who in theory are the toughest team that we've played yet this season, not including Real Madrid, obviously. Although Liverpool's struggling a lot, but we'll have an in-depth preview of that during the international break. So yeah, all in all, United rampant, did not need to be anywhere near their best to win 4-0, but over the last couple of seasons, 4-0 is the new 1-1, right? This is the mantra of Manchester United 2017-18, and if this keeps up, we've got every chance of making a real dent in the league. The two Manchester sides already got a 5-point gap over Spurs in third place, or the Harry Kane team, as Pep Guardiola referred to them. He said,
wow, because
he was asked about City being favourites, and he said, well, United are very good, and then there's the Harry Kane team.
I mean, City, I don't like to say this, but they were very good against Chelsea, having watched it back. I thought we were talking about this game over the weekend. I was convinced it was on Sunday, but then, of course, it was on Saturday evening. So I managed to squeeze that in today. Very impressive. I thought City, rather worrying.
I was having a chat with someone who was at City's midweek game with Shakhtar when he said that they'd really struggled during the first half, and I think that was the feeling was that City players were a bit flat after that performance. But even in the game when they struggled, not to go back to XG, but it was like XG of 3.0 to 0.5 is a pretty definitive win in terms of creating high quality chances, even if they weren't at their best. They've lost Benjamin Mendy, of course, as everyone on Twitter will know, thanks to the spat between him and Manchester United's Duncan Castles.
Dunk 1, Mendy 0 on that one.
Yeah, it's a really unfortunate situation for him, but he's going to be out for a really long time.
So maybe Sergio Aguero, having had that accident in midweek. I don't know what the controversy was about that. I mean, there's some journalists suggesting that somehow Aguero had done something wrong. It's an hour's flight over to Amsterdam to watch a concert. He stayed in a hotel and was getting a taxi back to the airport. Nothing wrong with that at all. But involved in an unfortunate accident. Hit the post. I did try and check up Aguero's hit post stats this season. I think it might be his first.
That's outrageous. That's absolutely... A man's life was in jeopardy. But no, obviously don't wish ill on the individuals involved, or I say obviously we don't. I guess I'll have to extend that, Ed, too. Obviously, I don't wish injury.
I don't wish any injury to him. I just wish a very long and complicated recovery from that broken rib. There can be nasty broken ribs.
And City did okay without Mendy and Aguero against a team that actually are a properly good team. Although Conte definitely playing the kind of, we had a tough away trip in midweek, where they'd done very well, of course, against Atletico Madrid. A fine performance from Chelsea, that.
Yeah. One question mark over City, and I think this is a fair one. They spent £150 million on fullbacks in the summer, and they're playing Fabian Delph at left back.
Well, yeah, that's because Mendy's injured, isn't it?
Yeah, bit of a problem.
Yeah. I mean, although Pep Guardiola loves Fabian Delph like a son, it would appear. But yeah, this is... I mean, it's too early to say because, this time last season, City were on a 10-game winning streak and Chelsea hadn't gone on their big run yet. So, the destination of the title looked pretty definitive early last season, and then it changed dramatically over the course of the season. So we will see. But for now, this season has kind of started like I guess a lot of people thought last season would, with the two Manchester sides tearing away. And I remember, Ed, you saying in like the second podcast of the season maybe that United had this run before the Liverpool game where they didn't really have any tough task and they could potentially have a lot of confidence boosting wins, and one draw and the other 6 games all wins and scoring an average of over 3 goals a game in all competitions, I think, this season. Absolutely crushing it so far.
Yeah, and then you look to the next sort of 6 weeks or so, and by early November, United will have played Liverpool, Chelsea and Spurs, and I guess by then we'll know how good we really are, and I'm not sure the benchmark of any teams we played so far is particularly high. Liverpool, mixed, aren't they? But Chelsea away will be tough, and Spurs at home will be tough too. So I think we should really know whether United will really be challenging for the title by sort of early November.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your instinct? What would you have to say if you just ask your gut? How good are we right now? Obviously, we don't. This isn't scientific, but what do you reckon?
Pretty good. I'd worry about the left back position certainly, and the depth in central midfield. They're two sort of weaknesses, I suppose. There's some inconsistency in the side. If I was to guess right now, I'd say United would be within 5 points of the title. I'm not certain that United would win it. Not particularly confident about that, but within 5 points, and I think that's progression, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's just a guess at this stage.
Of
7
course.
games in.
Of course. No one's going to hold you to that. Or maybe they will. We'll find out when we look to the listeners. And this is very exciting. Still on a Twitter break. 2 weeks in a row. I'm back soon, I guess. I can't quite face it, but I'll have to come back at some point. But for now, Ed, it's over to you and the listeners.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like this because I'm getting extra work every week. I just like to rock up and answer some questions, not actually have to read them. Jeez. Matic for the People, at Matic for the People, says, did Glazonomics unwittingly deliver to two of our finest fullbacks in the last 20 years in Young and Valencia?
Yep. Simple answer to that question, yes.
Yeah, I think he may have his tongue firmly in his cheek there. At Level 2 Rogue says, does the success Martial has been having this season prove that this is exactly how he should be deployed? No, it does not. He should play through the middle, although he's not going to with Lukaku scoring bags of goals. So off the left is fine for him.
I mean, he's ever so good at delivering. I think he's got 5 goals and 4 assists this season. So I think there's a fairly solid argument that he adds it's a bit like playing David Villa wide left in the attack. You're basically playing a brilliant striker in the wide left position of the attack. But the fact that he can kind of nutmeg fullbacks and, get to the byline and put crosses in and be, Anthony Martial in front of goal means that you don't half have a great deal of strength in the side, playing him wide left with a player like Lukaku up front.
Yeah, and I think it's, Jose talked about 4-3-3 or 3-4-3 suiting Martial. And I think the thing that takes away from Martial in a way is if he has to do too much defending. You don't want a player like Anthony Martial having to run 80 yards to get into a dangerous position.
No, absolutely. Same with Rashford, actually. Although Rashford's such an amazing runner that he can kind of do it anyway. Like, people do get excited when Rashford picks the ball up in United's half.
When is Klopp going to be subject to the same scrutiny as all other managers instead of the media kissing his arse, says at Pebbles Miller. Klopp is a fraud. I don't know whether that's a question or a statement. I have to say I agree with both. I mean, it's because the Scouse Mafia run the media in this country.
Oh, come on.
Hashtag Scouse News.
Outrageous nonsense. No, it's... I think he gets a free ride, not because... of anything to do with the Scouse Mafia, which hasn't run media in this country for 10 years now. So it's all United Mafia now. The truth is that Klopp's such a character that people, he column inches all the time. But I think maybe it's too early to say this season, but so far, I think he's quite seriously under-delivering on what people would have hoped for him at Liverpool.
Yeah, they're nowhere. Nowhere. Didn't Shankly say second is nowhere? Well, how bad is mid-table? Pretty bad. At Matt Mitchell 3 says, which United player would make the best Labour leader? This one for you, Paul, I think, since you're in the cult of Corbyn. Outrageous
slander. No, I'm off politics on this show for a bit. But which United player would make the best Labour leader? So you want someone charismatic and fundamentally decent. We'll go with Juan Mata. Common goal and all that.
Oh, yeah, probably. So Edward Elric, at Edward Elric 191 says, Paul, can you ask Ed to do a full-time Devils preview so we can see his face? No, Paul was doing full-time Devils stuff at the weekend. I was skulking in the background like some spin doctor.
Yeah, Ed remains forever in the shadows. As mentioned on the show last week, it's because of his job as an international super spy.
Yeah, you're not supposed to tell people that when you're an international super spy. Should we have a couple more?
Bluff.
Couple more?
Yeah, we got time. What else are we going to do? I would say, we've done less than 40 minutes of show. We've only got the international break left to talk about. Bring it on.
So Tarek Amir at La False number 12 says, do you prefer to have strategically cut holes in your socks or not? No, because anytime there is even the hint of a hole in my sock, cut or worn out, even the hint, even if it suggests there's a sparkle in the eye of the sock, my Mrs. Rant throws them away. So
I was sure, given her profession, that you would say that she would stitch them up.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
Just straight in the bin.
Straight in the bin. I have to buy a lot of socks.
Not like you haven't got craft materials lying about. I need to understand what this question means. Have I missed a cultural phenomenon? Are people deliberately cutting holes in their socks?
Apparently.
Do you have any idea why?
So they don't get worn out and get all annoying?
Like, in what way, though? Why would cutting holes help? Please help me, listeners. I don't understand.
At Mark L.M. Steele, with an E on the end, says, is nice a December derby shaping up to be one of the most important derbies in recent memory? Well, it could be if it's all very close and it's an old-fashioned six-pointer, isn't it? Could well be.
Can we draft Robin Van Persie in just for that game?
Or Paul Scholes.
Yeah, you say the most important derby in a few years, and of course, depends what you mean by a few years, because December 2012, well, this would be the 5th anniversary virtually of that game, and that was an absolutely crucial derby. Completely changed the tide of that season. Really, City's title challenge was basically done after that Van Persie free kick. So. It could be massive. Do you know off the top of your head, Ed, whether it's home or away?
It's at Old Trafford, so the full 3 points coming our way. That's when we go top of the table, Paul.
Oh, it'll be proper exciting, that would. We talked about how close United will be to the top of the league, and it does hugely depend on the quality of City, basically, and how long they can sustain this for. And at the moment, it does look like they've kind of resolved some of the issues that plagued them in the middle part of last season. And they have got so many weapons. Like, we talked about the injuries they've got, but Aguero being injured almost doesn't matter at all to City, which is a ridiculous state of affairs because they've got so many goal scorers in that side. Right? But yeah, it could be a massive derby.
Jesus or Jesus.
Jesus.
No, it's not he. He's Brazilian.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Jesus. You've got to say it like you're an Irishman, and then you'll get it spot on. So, I don't do accents. You do.
Okay. Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So, yeah, I mean, United play Arsenal the weekend before and Moscow in between that derby game. But by then, that's the last Champions League fixture. United should have won the group already and could play all the kids against Moscow just to rest everybody.
It's at Old Trafford too, obviously.
Yep. So let's hope so. Looking forward to that. We've got quite a few tough games between now and then, though. So shall we talk about the World Cup qualifiers coming up? Are you looking forward to International Week?
I imagine I won't watch any of it. That is what tends to happen. I'm not trying to be too red for school, too cool for school in the top red version of that. I've said this so many times on the show. I absolutely love international football tournaments. Absolutely hate international football tournament qualifying.
Yeah, England plays Slovenia and someone else who I can't remember. Looking down the list of potential mega games to watch, there is Armenia versus Poland. Awesome.
Yeah.
Or Romania, Kazakhstan. Yeah.
Who are Hungary playing?
Yeah. Don't know.
Okay.
No. Your boys France are away at Bulgaria.
Yeah, you say my boys France, but the problem is it's very hard to get enthused by the David Moyes that is Didier Deschamps. It's
David Moyes. Yeah. No, I know you got all that talent. Now Martial not in the French squad. Apparently, Mbappe and Payet and someone else, Lamar, are ahead of him in the pecking order at the moment. They've got some talent if they can leave Anthony Martial out of the squad, let alone the team. But yeah, he manages to take all that mega talent and turn them into Stoke. Or something
the fact that Pogba's injured too just naturally makes them less fun to watch.
It's actually quite good, this international break, in a way, because England are home to Slovenia, away to Lithuania. I guess Smalling, Jones, and who else will be in the Smalling and Jones?
Rashford will get involved, presumably.
Rashford. Yeah, given his form, he'll probably start to the left of Harry Kane, I'd think. That's a shame he's got to play, but actually not too many United players playing international football. No Mata, no Herrera in the Spain squad. Obviously no Pogba, no Martial. Valencia is going to have a mega trip. That's unfortunate. But I don't know if he's playing. I'm going to guess so. Smalling and Jones will be in the squad, might not play. Quite a Lukaku. That's a shame. He's going to play twice for Belgium. They use him a lot, and he scores a hatful of goals for Belgium.
Yeah,
if you count his goals for Belgium, he scored about 40 already this season.
Yeah, because he got a hat trick against Gibraltar. He did score 4 in 2 during the international break. So if he's on 11 in 10 for us, so it's 15 in 12, including internationals.
Wowza! Latvia versus Andorra. Yes.
Banger. Absolute banger. The France thing, we were talking about that, but they really have put themselves in an outside shot of being in some trouble because they drew a game at the beginning of the qualifying group that they really shouldn't have against somebody terrible. I can't even remember who. But then they lost to Sweden in Sweden, and then they drew with Luxembourg. So, if they can't hit the kind of form they should be hitting, then at least Deschamps would be sacked, but it would be such a shame what you want is for them to scrape qualification and for the French Football Association to somehow sack Deschamps ahead of it and, appoint Zidane on a temporary basis for the summer.
I'm just saying, look, David Moyes is out of work at the moment. Just saying.
You were saying yesterday he did not get the Birmingham job. David Moyes couldn't even get the Birmingham job.
He's just done, isn't he? He should just go into the punditry.
Oh, God, but then we'd have to see him on telly.
Then we can add him to the list of ex-United players and/or managers who are terrible pundits.
Yeah, but Patreon backers will have heard us talk about that last week. We forgot Ryan Giggs altogether. Just didn't even mention him.
I mean, to be fair, he'd been the lower half of that list. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some real dross at the bottom. I think we argued about whether, it was Peter Schmeichel or Robbie Savage at the bottom. You seem to like Savage. Weird, but, hey.
Like is a very, very strong word. I mean, when I say a very strong word, I mean, my argument was just that at least once I've heard Robbie Savage say something and thought, oh, yeah, that's kind of interesting. Whereas that has never, ever happened with Peter Schmeichel.
Ryan Giggs' style is to basically repeat the question in the form of, it was a very good cross, and then stare into space. He's got that 1,000-yard stare thing going. And you just wonder, it's something ticking over where he's trying to come up with an answer. I wonder why that's how he can't get a job, because anytime he goes for an interview, it's just not happening for him.
It was the anniversary, I saw this on Facebook, the anniversary of a time in 2014 where I wrote a 1,800-word impassioned argument as to why Ryan Giggs should be given the United job. I was reading it back and laughing at myself. So young, so naive. No.
You still believe that? Yeah, we were talking about who should get a statue at Old Trafford next. Record appearance numbers for Ryan Giggs for United. He should surely get a statue.
Well, I mean, the problem with Giggs and Scholes, because I don't think you can give one of them a statue without the other. And then you're like, well, what about Gary Neville? Like, he's only a handful of appearances behind them. But it's like, I feel like you kind of, if you've got all three of them, then do you just have to do the whole class of 92? And are we somehow going to end up with a Philip Neville statue outside Old Trafford?
He was not in the class of 92.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. But he is, in the class of 92 TM, isn't he? So, but yeah, I don't know. Do you just go Giggs and Scholes on their own? Seems a bit harsh on the rest.
No, you got to have a Beck statue. Although he wasn't there for his whole career, was he? Whereas Giggs, Scholes and Neville were.
Yeah, but neither Best nor Law were there for their whole career.
Rankcast listeners, tell us.
And they've both
maybe we should just go gorilla erect a statue.
Yeah, but it would just be Eric, obviously.
Yeah.
Eric with a LUHG scarf on.
Nice. Like it. I think we're stalling for time here. Have we run out of things to talk about? It's Liverpool after the international break. We'll preview that next week. But a mini preview ahead, thinking ahead to that. What are we looking from the international break? As few minutes as possible for our players, absolutely no injuries, and the opposite for any Liverpool players.
Yeah, and hundreds of goals for Romelu Lukaku to keep his
mojo going. Yeah, Liverpool, who were pretty bad in drawing at Newcastle.
Yeah, and pretty bad. Well, very, very, very bad in front of goal. Like excellent up to, but not including the putting the ball in the back of the net in Champions League in midweek. It was quite funny watching them to go to Moscow and fail to go away with the result. And then we just smashed 4 past the Moscow team that we played and then came home all cheery like. But yeah, they're really struggling.
Yeah, Firmino dropped for this game. Daniel Sturridge came in. They've got a problem because I think they've got good players up front, but not great players.
Talking of matters vaguely European, what do you make of Bayern Munich's decision to sack Carlo Ancelotti?
Yeah, I mean, football cliche coming up. They've hit the panic button, haven't they? I mean, look, this is a 3-time European Cup winner. They are going to win the Bundesliga this season. They've just started a bit slow. They've been more weeks or more days outside the top 1 this season than last season in total. But it just, it's competitive. But they still got, by miles, the best squad. They are going to win the Bundesliga. Willy Sagnol has been appointed as temporary coach. I mean, I'm sure he's a very good coach, Willy Sagnol. But is he Carlo Ancelotti? No.
But, the thing is, this is just like a fancy version of what Palace did. Because... Or even what United did, really, with going from Moyes to Van Gaal to Mourinho. Going from Guardiola to Ancelotti is a very significant cultural shift. And there is no lineage in that. Like, Ancelotti is not a ferocious, inch-by-inch, juego de posición coach, is he? He's a, raise an eyebrow, get on with it, lads, I believe in you, and here are some tactics kind of coach. He's, famed for his man management. Those 3 Champions Leagues are not backed up with a kind of equivalent number of league titles, but he's obviously very well regarded in general, but he's not, you give Guardiola the job, you chase Guardiola for ages, give him the job, and he kind of, he definitely put his heart and soul into that job, Guardiola did, and he definitely transformed the way that squad think about football. And then for Ancelotti to sort of stroll in, really, they should have gone with a progressive appointment there and then, I would have thought.
Yeah, but there are very few who are Guardiola disciples or similar, right? So I don't think there's ever going to be much lineage in the next appointment. And they appointed a very fine coach. And, I think 7 or 8 games into the season, they've not started the Bundesliga brilliantly and they got spanked by PSG. The latter could happen to anyone this season. And the former, Ancelotti's definitely going to turn it around. I think it's an odd decision, a little too soon.
But then the other thing, of course, is that the whole, the rumour mill that has churned is that he had properly lost the dressing room. There were big swathes of players that just did not want to play for him, didn't rate him as a coach, all this kind of stuff. And then at that point you think, well, actually, rather than it being that matter of panic, it's kind of a sensible thing. I wonder if the optics of losing 3-0 to PSG aren't quite a big deal because, there have been a big 3 in European football in the last few years with kind of Atletico Madrid nibbling at their heels, but Real, Barcelona and Bayern Munich have been undisputed as the big 3. But now you have the re-emergence of us potentially. You've got the emergence of Manchester City as a genuine force on the European stage. And then above all of that, you've got the kind of voracious super monster that is Paris Saint-Germain. And it means that Bayern have a bit of scrambling to do if they want to re-establish themselves properly at the top table.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not sure sacking your coach eight games into the season does that. If they really believe that, they should have got someone else in the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the whole thing, isn't it? Whenever you sack a coach, it's who do you have ready to replace him that makes it a good sacking or a bad sacking in a lot of ways. If the answer is Roy Hodgson, probably not that great a sacking, it's fair to say.
Yeah, Roy Hodgson spent most of the game in the dugout, occasionally popped out, but most of the time he had Ray Lewin there, didn't he? So maybe he just didn't want to get wet.
He was out there waving his little hands around a little bit. I took a little 5-second video of Roy Hodgson waving his hands around, which I found funny.
When we're in a desperate situation, which Palace now are, the man you really want to inject some enthusiasm, some oomph into you, is not Roy Hodgson. Ever. He's not going to inspire anyone. Probably can't even inspire himself to get up in the mornings.
It's a sad thought. It's a sad thought. Roy Hodgson, somehow Allardyce used Palace to kind of cleanse the palate of his career in a way. Like he just didn't want it to end with the England nightmare. Roy Hodgson's gone, right, I'm going to try that trick too. Oh no, this was a terrible mistake. This isn't a palate cleanser. This is a make your palate worser.
Yeah.
Anything else in European football? Barcelona playing against Las Palmas behind closed doors because La Liga are just what a ridiculous institution.
La Liga are run by Madrid fascistas. Franco is making a return.
Yeah, that one's not so funny.
And all of that. Yeah, some really shocking scenes in Catalonia. Obviously, I go to Barcelona quite a bit. Spend a lot of time in the city and... very, very passionate set of people, I think, about their own national identity. And actually what they're really asking, the vote's about independence, but really it's about leverage. And, they're semi-autonomous and they're seeking more autonomy over tax and local economy. At the moment, Catalonia has to ask for a handout from Madrid and they want it to be the other way round. And the reaction from the central government to this has been to send in militarised riot police and drag people out, including very old people, out of voting voting booths physically. It's really astonishing, I think, actually. And I wonder whether there'll be an interesting reaction at sort of European government level about the overzealous policing of this.
We shall see.
There you go, politics.
Yeah, it wasn't me,
we'll get a bunch of tweets saying you Marxists.
I just want to say, I didn't have my fingerprints were nowhere on that. All right. Thank you for listening. We'll be back one of these during the international break. Please send your Twitter questions in with hashtag Rantcast, because we are going to really badly need them, because I'm probably not going to have watched any football at all.
I think we should set you a football hipster challenge. I'm going to find a game for you to watch.
Okay.
And you're going
to make it good.
No,
though. Make it not like a terrible one. Make it an interesting one. It doesn't have to be mainstream, but I'm not watching Latvia against Andorra or whatever it was.
That's awesome. I might do.
I did go fully football hipster earlier in the week. It's not something I do very often, but I had occasion to watch Lyon against Atalanta in the Europa League. I believe it was on this very show last week where I said I'm not watching the Europa League this season, but I voluntarily watched the Europa League game, and it was absolutely brilliant. Complete stormer of a game. Memphis didn't come on till late, but generally speaking, like, both teams really going for it. Proper, exciting, fun football. So there we go. Football hipster.
Very good. Very good. Well, we'll see you all after a round of several dozen international games. There's bound to be a good one in there, honest.
Take care of yourselves and each other. The Rantcast is produced by Tom Jenkins and supported by listeners like you. Head to patreon.com/Rantcast to find out more.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.